You're now entering the LuxCore Studios. And you've secured a seat for the Protecting Your Radius podcast. Here, we build connections from your contracting profession to some of the top bleeding edge products and services. Don't get deterred. Let's not delay. Here is your host, Nathan Downs.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Protecting Your Radius podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Downs, and today joining me in the studios, Mr. Randy Ward. Randy?
Hi, guys.
He's saying hello, waving to each of you. So we wanted to have a conversation here today. We're continuing down the path of talking about gate safety. And Randy and I were arguing about gate safety, period, I guess. And I thought it was a pretty interesting conversation because it kind of proves the point that if you and I can't even agree on some of this stuff, how in the heck are we all supposed to know what is real, what is not, when you interpret different things? And we're going back to what happened a couple weeks ago in Tucson, Arizona, with that little girl. And looking at the gates, you know, we got additional pictures. We started to dive more into what we were seeing out there. Come to find out, it appears like it's some type of track driven gate system that went past a positive stop. Right. It makes sense that from a maintenance perspective over time, that would be one of the weakest points, especially, Randy, like you talked to me about, you know, when you have the guideposts or you do something along those lines, what can generally happen to them is they can potentially work themselves away from each other, which
Sure.
may have been, and it appears like that's probably what happened in this situation, where for a decade plus, the positive stop's coming up against this post, and now the post has moved, or whatever's happened on site goes past, and you have 1,000-pound, 1,500-pound gate falling on someone.
Yeah, and we put in fall posts forever. When I first got into the trade, we put in fall posts. But if you don't have a gate stop, and with the Quambeck's little boy and in this little girl in Tucson, it appears the problem wasn't a fall post wouldn't have solved that problem.
Right.
You had to have a gate stop.
Right. And
they're just rolling past. And in the case in the Quambecks, it literally, they had a stop on there one time, but it had been hammering that gate where it had bent all the way over. So, the gate was on a downhill slope, right? So that gate was just picking up speed, and it just rolled right over that stop.
Right.
Just sailed right off and fell over that child. And that's a maintenance issue. That it was obviously installed properly to begin with.
Sure.
Right? They had a stop on there and everything, but just over time, it just wasn't properly maintained.
And that's what it looks like has happened here in this scenario again. I mean, again, without being there, and I know there have been a couple gate guys that have actually gone to that site, to Centennial School, and looked at this in person. But I mean, looking at all the data and the information, it looks like the same thing. I was talking to Josh Glover, and he had mentioned to me that, you know, it fell into the opening, which again, it's the same thing as, the Quambecks. It doesn't matter whether it went backwards or forwards. The fact of it's going past the stops, past the limits, is the real issue here. So Thanksgiving week, while all the schools were out here in Oklahoma, we sent, 50 emails to our local, basically our local school districts, so to speak, right? And we reached out to a handful of them. We should start as soon as next week. I'm expecting that we'll start to get some feedback, be following up on all those emails that we sent out we were offering a free service to do an analysis on every single gate that these districts have. It's pretty easy for us to figure that out. Being savvy at Google, right? Randy's starting to learn, see how I use Google to death. But that can also help us in this scenario too, so we can find the schools faster, map it out, make it less of a burden on us, but be able to attack these faster for them so we can get the information back in their hands instead of just dragging this out. Or, I've got a gate that may be a problem. How about this? You've got 9 schools. I will just go one after another and do one drive and check the entire site for gates and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing to make an impact with that. But Randy actually did a service call a couple days ago. Oh, yeah. Got him out in the field.
Dirty hands out there.
It literally. And we kind of got into a spirited discussion about gate safety and in different formats. So one of the things, Randy, that if you understand UL325, you understand what everyone, I think even ASTM F2200, but really UL325, it gives us class verifications for every type of gate operator installation, right? Mm-hmm. And there's 4 different classes. So you've got, and we're going to go through those real quick, and then I'm going to have Randy explain what he found at a job site, and then we can get into our spirited debate. So class 1 is residential. Class 2 is commercial or general public use. Class 3 is industrial or limited access. And class 4 is like high security or something like that.
Yeah, I've got them all here.
He printed it.
I did.
Oh, jeez.
I've got a certified professional here, so I want to make sure I get this right.
I got the other 3 right. Class 4 is the only one. Yeah. I think it's like government or
restricted access vehicular gate operator, vehicle gate operator, or system intended for use in a guarded industrial location or building, such as an airport security area or other restricted access locations not servicing the general public, in which unauthorized access is prevented via supervision by security personnel. In other words, there's somebody looking at that gate.
All the time.
All the time.
If the gate's moving, someone is physically have their eyes on it. Yeah. Or physically moving it, like a 3-button station, et cetera. So prisons, airports, maximum security type stuff.
Yeah, right. Army bases.
Yep. Okay. So tell us your story.
So we had a mini storage, that we went out, the chain was broke. It's very poorly maintained gate. It's a V-track. No gate stops on it. I could go on and on and on. It did have a photo eye on it. It had loops. Didn't have any. It's an old Elite SL3000. That's why nobody wants to replace it. It's a bulletproof gate operator.
Sure.
But the gate, my opinion was I looked at this as a Class 2 installation. And I told Nathan when I came back, I said, I'm not sure we should be working on this, buddy. I know, it's revenue. I said, but we need to tell these people to get this gate up to par. You've got the gate's not covered.
Right. I think the airspace on the pickets was like 6 inches.
Mm-hmm. It rose past a building, in front of a building.
Yeah.
It's a V-track. There's no wheel covers. There's no, the rollers don't have covers.
The guide rollers don't have covers. The V-track wheels don't have covers. Not anything about this is protected or safe.
Nothing about this thing is safe. It does have a gate stop going forward because it runs into the latch, but on the way open, there's nothing. Mm-hmm. And so our debate was this a Class 2 or a Class 3?
That's right. I think it's Class 3.
I think it's a Class 2.
So this is where we were going in and out with this, because by the letter of the law, so to speak, there, when it says general public access, you're talking about general public in through the gate area. But like I explained to Randy, I don't think a self-storage in that capacity where they have a general public access into the office area, right? The only way to get into the storage facility is through, you have to enter a code, you have to know a code. No one can buzz you in. So the limited access portion of it is so tight. That's why I continue to go back to it's a Class 3.
I understand. And I understand why you think that. But under the Class 2, right, it says 5 or more single-family units,
right,
hotel, garages, retail store, or other public buildings accessible by or servicing the general public, right?
Perfect.
The Class 3, intended for use in an industrial location or building, such as a factory, loading dock area, or other locations not accessible by or intended to service the general public.
Yeah, because we're not servicing the general public at a self-storage facility. You're servicing a tenant, someone you have a contract with.
It is a tenant, exactly, which would be like a multifamily house.
Nah. No.
I mean, they're bringing little kids
I see
around,
what you're saying.
and there's homeless people walking all over the place over there.
And I agree. Is the gate safe? Absolutely freaking not. Yeah. I'm still standing by the fact. But like I said, limited access is the only reason I say that, because you can't just, no one there is, they don't even have here's part of my problem with this too. You don't even have a pedestrian gate. So even by a commercial or residential class 1 or class 2, to even comply with UL compliance, what do you have to have?
You have to have some way to get in that deal.
I'm sorry.
But it does have a door that you can walk around, right?
Through the building.
Through the building. You
right.
can get inside, but no,
which is not general public. So again, that would tell me even more that this is a limited access facility, implicit by design, because there is no other way to get into the facility, whether you're an employee only or you go through the gate because you're a contracted tenant.
What about this HOA down the road? I just serviced their gate.
Yeah, what about that?
Well,
okay.
If you don't have the right transmitter, if you don't have the right
There's
code,
a call box.
There is a call box.
And it's class 2.
It is a class 2, but it has limited access. You have to, unless somebody intentionally lets you in,
right?
You have to have a code or a transmitter to get in.
Right.
And public can come in and out.
Yeah. Yeah, but public can come in and out. That's what I'm saying.
But it's limited access. And the same thing with this thing. It's public can come in and out, right?
No, it's not public.
With a code, they got to have a code.
Then you're not public anymore. That's what I'm saying.
But that public can go get permission from the guy inside, and he can let them in. Just like if you call,
that'd be a class 4.
If you're a UPS guy and you call from that call box for somebody to let you in, they can let you in.
Yeah, but you're talking about the HOA now, so no one's confused. Right. But the HOA, that's designed to be that way. It's a class 2.
Right. The same way with that mini storage.
I'm telling you, no, it's not the same. Because the mini storage has a keypad on the outside, a keypad on the inside. There's no loops to let you in or out. The only way general public can get in there is they have signed a freaking contract or someone gave them a code, but there's not a UL thing about keypad codes. Okay. But that's what
you
I'm
guys watch
saying.
this.
I'm just saying it's convoluted both ways, right? Like I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here.
He is playing devil's advocate because ultimately here's the thing with either one of these things. Whether you think it's a class 2 or a class 3, our responsibility is to make that gate safe.
Right. And it is a freaking death machine.
It is.
Now. Yeah. So this, then we really had the true crux of the conversation was, well, what do you do? So Randy, you immediately were like, well, I guess we're not fixing this gate. And then I'm sitting there going, what are we talking about? Like, I'm like, we've already fixed the gate before because we had to. We are their service contractor. We're set up as a vendor for this. It's a large national chain, and I'm going, we're too young to be walking around town saying this is not compliant to a voluntary standard. I'm like, they're going to go, yeah, cool. I'll call somebody else. But like we were talking about, and this is a question I had for you, Randy. Like I actually talked to Joe Everest about this too. Why? We know that this is an issue for safety and access, right? Why has no one developed a standard, like a letter or something saying like, hey, we're just here identifying that your gate does not meet UL325, ASTM F2200, not even listing specifics, but just something that would mitigate our liability as a contractor and really mitigate everybody's liability. Because if I had something from one of the associations and I'm just saying that because they're the ones that want to lead the charge on all of this. Why isn't there just a simple legal letter that maybe we could have a template that I could take to our lawyer and say, hey, make sure this works for Oklahoma. And then, because otherwise I'm going to spend thousands of dollars writing a freaking letter that everybody in town's going to copy. And I don't want to foot that bill. I'm sorry. But at the same time, we're the ones that are leading the way, even talking about it.
Well, they're out there, Nate. I mean,
where?
LiftMaster used to give us a carbon copy.
Yeah, but that gate,
thing,
I've used that gate checklist though.
Here's the thing. There's nothing. The only thing all these guys are going to do, because you said it earlier, it's a voluntary thing, and nothing. There's tort court is just going to get us no matter what we do. So I think that's probably the problem. All we can do is do a checklist, show that customer the checklist. You have. We've been to the mock trial that AFA does every year at FenceTech, and we're basically screwed no matter what we do in that deal. I mean, you leave that thing going, I'm not going to do any more gate operators, right?
Right, yeah.
But they are rare instances. There's no doubt. But I think that the bottom line is we have to do our due diligence in these things. And, like we talked about, I think we should send a letter to this client and say, look, because the guy did say, look, man, whatever it takes, we got to get this thing safe. But he's the manager. He's not approving this thing. I mean, because literally their gate operator's not even compliant, for God's sake. Everything's a nightmare, you know.
Let me ask you this, Randy, to clarify. Did he say make the gate safe, or did he say make the gate work?
He said if it comes to safety, I can approve stuff.
Until we send him that estimate.
Exactly. We can't do it without an estimate.
And then he sees the estimate for like $2,800, and he's going to be like, "Okay."
Yeah, because like this particular gate, we have to add an edge right onto the back. We have to we got to screen the gate.
Yep.
We got to cover the rollers.
Yep.
We got to do something with the V-track or the V-groove wheels because they're not covered. It's more than 4 inches underneath the gate.
Mm-hmm.
There's no covers on the. They're just laying out there, So, and these gates are out there everywhere.
Sure.
And there's, and to be fair, and I say this to, I put on my AFA hat, and when we're talking, we're going to tell you the right way to do it and what you should do every time.
Right.
But there is real life.
Yeah.
We're going out there. We see this gate. We can go. This is a cow might get hurt, right? So I'm not going to put a beam on there. The guy hates the beam. Every time he complains about the beam, So that's a judgment call that everybody has to make themselves. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, depending on you guys have to judge that situation. But ultimately, from a standards point of view, when anybody's asking, we do have a standard, and that's what, if God forbid any of us go to court, that's what we're going to be held to.
And it's the same thing. I remember seeing a couple weeks ago as we're talking about the gate safety stuff, someone had mentioned something about, garage doors and, how we're more regulated by safety standards than garage doors. But I'm like, but Randy, think about this. Would you ever take a photo beam off a garage door? Like, have you ever picked up a garage door without the tension spring? Like without? Oh,
without the spring?
Without the spring.
You can't do it.
I mean, I can.
Well, you're tougher than me, but
holy crap.
My spring broke. I couldn't pick it up.
I mean, it probably weighs good. I mean, what? I don't know. 500 pounds?
All that pressure.
But all the pressure
is pushing down on the door.
So imagine not putting a photo eye. Like, that's kind of, like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
well, I can because,
But who would do that?
Well, when I was young, there was garage door openers with no photo eyes. What's a photo eye? So I mean,
so who's putting the gate operators without photo eyes now? Hopefully nobody. I mean, I see some of these idiots dummy them and stuff, but I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, a garage door opener is even more dangerous than our stuff on a closing cycle.
If it breaks, it is. And then nothing helps. But on a garage door, I mean, look, we lift them up and down all the time. You
Right.
can take yours up and down.
Yeah.
We got a chain, we can lift them up
Right.
and down. So I mean, it's.
But
Now,
they're
they're
treating us all the
made
same
not to-
way.
But they've trained us that way.
Right.
So you can't imagine a garage door without a photo eye. I can. I mean, my wife tore up a brand new car because she's backing out the truck and the car and letting the holding onto the remote and just creased the truss creased the whole top of my car. So we had no safeties on them back
Right.
then, but
Jeez.
over time,
Right.
it's kind of a funny deal. It's like you see these little reels and stuff, and they'll talk about owner's manuals. Right now, they say don't drink the antifreeze. Right.
Right.
I mean,
It didn't say that the
seriously,
best.
you got to tell
Yeah,
somebody that,
right, right.
So
Tide
we're just in
Pods
this,
are not for
we're
you.
in this litigation age now,
True.
So really the UL325 stuff it's funny. Zach and I and Tim Nordstrom at this school, we've laughed about this, back in the 80s, we just worried about hitting cars. We put loops everywhere, so a motorcycle couldn't sneak by the loop or whatever,
Right.
afraid the gate would hit them. Now we could care less about hitting a car. It's all about people, So that's just evolved. True. That's the world we live in, and the reason for all of these things is litigation.
Yeah.
That's really the bottom line. All these things came to fruition because something was wrong. Somebody got injured. Somebody sued. If nobody had sued, none of this stuff would have happened. But that's the world. It's like I said. Look, on a rural installation, somebody bypasses the photo eye or whatever, and they, like this one friend of mine, he always, if he doesn't use a photo eye, he's very clear. He says that is a open, close, period.
Right.
You don't get to turn the timer on.
Of course.
And they're always on a lightweight gate. But if we're going to go by the letter of the law,
right,
it's open up a whole bag of worms. So like I said, there's real life situations, but us as professionals, we have to make that judgment call. But in the back of your mind, you got to keep in mind the reason all these things are in place. You can argue class 2 and ask. So I'm not even a lawyer, and we have a pretty spirited debate about class 2, class 3 on this mini storage. What do you think a jury and a lawyer and this lawyer, what are they going to do on, what's the guy on Suits going to do, I mean, he's going to
Harvey Specter.
Yeah, Harvey's going to kill us, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just,
he's going to try.
That's what it's all about, really.
Yeah,
At the
sure.
bottom of the line, we do have to think about safety, right? Because we don't. I mean, I saw some of those when I watched the film at FenceTech. There was some of those gates. There was a gate in Sacramento that had fallen, and they were showing pictures. And I'm like, oh my God, did I install that gate?
Yeah.
And I felt kind of bad that's what I was worried about, but I didn't want to do it wrong. I have had gates fall over. Like you said, I told you about an instance on a V-track gate. We had stops on it, but the customer just kind of threw the gate. It's a V-track, it rolls easy, and they weren't wide enough. Those gates, it hit the stops, it spread the rollers, and fell right over. And thank goodness it didn't hurt anybody.
Sure.
But, like your situation, you've seen it happen.
Yeah.
So it's typically 99% of the time, it doesn't matter. People aren't going to get hurt, but we are doing that for the 1% of the time it does.
Yeah.
And I just think as professionals, especially those that got all the certifications behind our name, we are going to be held at a higher standard and those type of things. So when we look at those gates, we just have to have that in our brain.
Right.
For over 30 years, Southwest Automated Security has been the premier provider of gate operators, access controls, CCTV, and so much more. Visit southwestautomated.com today, taking dealers to the next level.
So coming up in a week or so in Shangri-La, we're going to have Tony Thornton's having his summit, end of year summit, and we're doing a gate safety operator. I don't know.
It's actually going to be more on manual gates is what we're talking about.
Right. But right, that's true. But it's just gate safety, period, right?
True.
Gate safety summit or whatever they're calling it. Why don't, and I'm going to bring this up to everyone to your face, so be ready for it. But like I had mentioned earlier, having like a standard like letter explaining there is a voluntary standard. Our initial inspection says that your gate doesn't meet this. We're going to be following up because we are professional or something, but this is the first written, I don't know, information or whatever that we're getting in your hands. So you understand that you have a liability right now.
Yeah.
There is something wrong and we're making you aware of this. So it's almost like a, I don't know, thinking back to Suits, because I watch Suits every day right now, trying to catch up. We're binging Suits. It's funny. But like it's almost like your subpoena, right? Like our the intent to file, right? Like that kind of setup there. So why hasn't anyone come up with it? And I know LiftMaster has the checklist, but I'm talking about something that I could take that the office, like Lexi or Brenda or Ashley or somebody could take that, or we could do it from the field and immediately go into our CRM, grab that and email them that on the spot instantaneously when we see a problem.
There's been checklists like this, and they're still floating around everywhere.
I'm not talking about a checklist. I'm talking about something that gives them that
like
legally represents
a form letter.
A form letter, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, because it's such a. But I tell you this.
Wouldn't that be a good start?
Yes, and I'm going to talk to Nick about that. I will personally give Nick a phone call. That's what he does for the FAA, him and Catherine and Michael. And they are all over this gate safety right now. I mean, you see them in Nick's reels, and Catherine's amazing, and Michael's going to come to Shangri-La and be a part of all this gate safety stuff. So I think that's
So you understand what I'm saying, right?
I do. And that could be definitely membership.
And I'm not saying
it's not out there somewhere.
I know, right? But then, okay, so if you know it's out there somewhere, somebody send it to us.
Right.
info@protectingyourradius.com. But I'm just saying that I look at AFA, I look at FWA, I look at NAFCA, I look at all these places. I'm really, and I mentioned this on my episode that I did right after the accident, I look to the manufacturers. Like LiftMaster did such a great job with the checklist, but why couldn't a Door King or a High Security or a LiftMaster or some of these huge brands have at least helped us get some form letter, something basic to say, we have all signed on as an industry. Hell, what if we had, I'll go a step further. What if the manufacturers all spent a little bit of money, made their form letter, and they all had their stuff on it? Like they signed up. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you could offer, like, if you have a Door King, a US Automatic, an All-O-Matic, all these different things. We have all this, but they're all in the same form letter saying all of these manufacturers have made a conscious decision to apply and get approved for UL325, right? So they're all there. Now, there are other ones that are not UL325 compliant, right? So they couldn't be part of this.
Right.
But I don't see why everyone spent this time and money and invested this and created a standard, and it is voluntary. But like, I can't wrap my head around, there's not simple tools. And this is what Brian Fredrickson's been talking about too since this happened. Like, where is the information? Why is it hidden behind paywalls? And they're not wrong about that, because it is. Like, you can't just get UL325 and we can't share it. I can't print it. I can't even say it on here. The video will get blocked on YouTube. So you see what I'm saying? So that's wrong to me.
What do you mean about UL325? It's all over the place. Did I misunderstand what
or let's say ASTM F2200 or something. There's certain standards that you have to buy. Like, you have to be a paying member.
Well, you can Google. I mean,
UL325 has a ton of notes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What I was going to tell you. So, UL325 has been, there's all kinds of information out there for that.
Sure.
And I mean, in every installation manual, it is completely covered.
Right.
One of the things that was new, right, and that got approved at FenceTech last year is that there was no safety stuff, no ASTM safety thing for manual gates.
Right. I remember when this happened.
You know, it was only if it was automated.
Right.
You know, so this new standard is F900 and swing gates in development, and there's ASTM F1184 for manual gates. Now it's been approved. I doubt it's been printed. That's for the ASTM folks to do, you know. But the AFA has worked with these standard safety, not just them, but a lot of people. Ameristar, Ben Shirley's huge in that. He's such a advocate. But I do think that what you're saying, Nate, is we need to self-police this because we don't want the politicians and these guys to get crazy regulations on us that just screw up our industry, and then we have to fight to get them unfixed because they'll throw a bunch of stuff out there that doesn't even help, right? It just screws everything up. So I guess that's my thing about the self-policing and all that kind of stuff and the UL325 and these manual gates. This between the Quambox and now this little girl has brought the manual thing up.
Yep.
Right? I think, to be fair, there's a lot of poor gates out there, that automatic gates that are still being installed. All we can do is, those of us that call ourselves professionals need to do the best we can to do it as right as we can. But now this next journey is these manual gates, and I don't want to see us slingshot into some crazy regulation world through this. And if we could, if our fence companies out there, our local fence companies could do just what you did, Nathan, and you came up with this form letter, and it's basically a form letter that we have sent out to all these school districts. Now we've literally made them aware of these issues. Yeah. You know, and hey, guess what? It's a possible revenue stream for us. You know, I know that's not why you did it, but it's there. You know, and we're going to spend the time. We're willing to do the inspection for nothing. Right. And I'm telling you, I know everybody that's a licensed contractor or has any of these certifications that's went to any, it takes 2 seconds to look at a gate and go, well, that gate needs some help. Right. That's not safe. Right. So this is an easy thing that I think if we can if our people out in the field, our boots on the ground, you know, yes, our associations could lead the way and like you said, checklist and this and that, and I think that's great. But I think this is a boots on the ground effort to get out there and it's an opportunity for revenue. Let's don't kid ourselves. Sure. But it's also if it stops anybody from getting hurt on the gate, it's worth a little bit of time. Yeah, absolutely. What are those other papers you have there? Oh, they're just other. I tell you, it's a big long thing that Michael wrote on gate safety. Oh, actually. Really? Yeah. Oh, that's going to be what we're going to talk about at the summit. Okay, good. Michael Reed's a rock star, guys. He is one smart dude. He is a smart guy. I'll give you that. And we are making him a fence guy more and more. That's good. That's good. Well, Randy, we're 30 minutes in. Okay, that's plenty. Heard me rattle. Let's no, that's good. Let's wrap this thing up. Put a bow on it. What were there any other things that we talked about that we were arguing about on this stuff? It was mostly the class 2, class 3, whether we should work on it or not. And like I said, it's just you guys do what you want to do. I mean, but it is a litigation. You know, we just expose ourselves to litigation on some of this stuff. And you just have to, you never know where it's going to come from. I mean, I looked at that gate yesterday, right? This lady's she's got some, what do I want to say those? Can I say the brand? They're Ghost. Oh, yeah, Ghost operators. I've never put any on. Was that on the Ameristar gate? Mm-hmm. The little Ameristar gates? Yeah, and they're automated. They did it themselves. There's little gates with 4-inch pickets out the back, down the bottom. Right. You know, I mentioned that to her. I said, well, she's like, I'm so sick of hearing about OSHA on my gates and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I get it. So now that's on us. Do we want to mess with it?
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'll tell you what I told the lady. I said, we can fix them, but we got to cover up them protrusions. I said, my boss won't let me do that.
Right.
So.
It's class 1, sorry.
It is. That's totally class 1. It might hurt her little dogs that she's concerned about.
Man, this can hurt all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's a mess. That whole thing is a mess. But anyway, and so and there you go right there. So you go out on a homeowner that's done their own work, and do you do it?
Yeah.
You say, depends on, I guess, how desperate you are for a $150 service charge.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have too much more to add. I mean, it is hard. It's hard for everybody out there because, you do have a business to run. You do have, expenses and all these things, and these opportunities come in, and you never know. As we've discussed many times, Randy, I mean, just doing service calls is a way to get in the door for a whole lot of things when what you do is perimeter security, right? I mean, we could get involved in all sorts of stuff just off of one service call, and then they're looking at the truck going, you guys do fence too? Or you're like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even know you did ABC. Yeah, sure. We'll give you a price today, So I just, it's hard. I hope, especially with the upcoming Gate Safety Summit, I hope there's things products that we see, verbiage that gets delivered, that we as a collective group can come up with some ideas immediately and come up with something. Like I said, I know very often what I fear, Randy, is like people don't do anything because they don't want to accept responsibility for, like creating this form letter, right? Like, hey, we need to identify the fact of your gate is not safe. But no one, again, I can't find it. I told you I'm pretty good at Google. I'm Googling stuff. I can't find nothing about this that's worth, its weight in salt. And I'm going, okay, but why? That's a simple start. When LiftMaster came out with the NCR forms, the 3 copies and stuff, I remember I was so excited. Like I got like a bunch of those books from Tim Kleiner, and I was running around town filling them out. And then, a couple months in, I wasn't doing it as much. And then honestly, once I got feedback from a handful of customers that are like, dude, seriously, I was like, well, this is taking a lot of my time to go through this checklist.
I know.
But
that is a deal.
But it was taking my time to just come to find out that they don't give a crap anyways. So then that was why when this stuff came out, and I'm thinking about even the school districts, right? Like we sent the stuff. What if a bunch of them don't reply? I mean, completely feasible. That's why we're going to call you. Like we're coming, but we're going to hit them multiple times in multiple different ways to see what traction. And then even then, worst case scenario, if we have a district that doesn't even want to give us the time of day, this goes back to that letter. Okay, Randy, you go out that way. We're already going to be going to this other place. So while you're in the area, go by their school. And if they have one gate that's not, you send them this letter just to let them know, because then on our side, as a company, as Radius, we forevermore have this documentation that we're like, we reached out to these guys via email, via letter, called them, never got a response. We even went by for free, didn't charge you, but we went to this school, found this, then sent this letter, and we send it in the mail too. Like I can't do anything more than that.
That's all you can do, man.
But I just don't want to. I just don't want to hear.
People have to start taking responsibility for.
But I don't want to hear like we can't help each other because there's like, well, I don't want to accept liability for being the one that wrote the letter. Like that's how I feel this is starting to go. Well, we all know we should do something, but none of us will do anything because we don't want to be the one accepting responsibility. And that's where I hope whether it's through one of the associations or whether it's through a manufacturer or something like that, someone sees it and just picks up the ball and says, no, we know what's right. And, and I only say this because if I was a huge contractor, I would have already done it myself. Right? Like, I'm passionate enough about it. I would have just freaking done this crap, but we don't have the resources today to be able to just pick up, you know what I'm saying? Pick up the tab to develop this.
Well,
and
I think one of the things that will come out of this is, we do have an attorney on staff, right?
right
And
at the AFA.
or the AFA does,
Yes.
not Radius.
Not Radius. We have an attorney on retainer, but the retainer's 0. So they just
Hopefully we
wrote
never
it.
use it. But the
We
AFA,
just wrote a demand letter yesterday.
we have an attorney, and so what I'm assuming is going to come out of this is we're going to come up with something, and if it goes through AFA, trust me, nothing that we do doesn't go through legal, right?
Right, of
That
course.
frustrates everybody,
Right.
but it's just what we do, and so we'll see what we come up with.
Yeah.
I have high hopes.
I do too. I expect that, especially looking at the talent and the experience that's going to be
Yeah.
at this thing coming up next week.
Yeah, and if Michael's going to be there, Brian's going to be there.
Yeah.
So this is a collaboration.
Yeah.
Of some pretty. Tony's going to be there. Tony's going to have something to say. Mike Gutledge. All these.
Randy,
there's high-powered people going to be there.
Yeah, there's like 90 people that are coming.
Oh wow!
And of the 90, like 75 of them are like some movers and shakers in our industry.
Well, cool.
Except for me and Dan Wheeler, we're in the 10 that don't matter, but
I won't have to say anything then. There's people way smarter than me,
yeah,
right?
you'll see. You were going to see some people, like I was looking at some people saying that they were coming, and I was like, oh, they're coming? Oh, geez, I won't have to say nothing. I was like, Michael Brooks is going to be there? That's awesome. I won't have to open my mouth. Michael's on page with what he wants. That's right. That's for you, Mike. So, but anyways, we'll wrap it up with that. There's not too much more that we need to say.
FenceTech.
What's that? FenceTech.
FenceTech.
Well, FenceTech's coming. We got our plane tickets. We got our hotels. We're ready to rock and roll, man. I'm excited. I know there's going to be a lot more. They're running all the testing at FenceTech. And
The opening party,
like
dude. The opening party.
Yeah. It was called Pickets and Pitchers last year. This year it's Pickets and Picks.
Yeah.
Or Picks and Pickets.
Something like that.
Or something like that.
But I tell you, it's going to be incredible. And I know we got to get off here, but
Yes.
we also, for our keynote this year, a lot of people don't come to our keynote. They should come this year. It's going to be hilarious. It's going to be fun. We'll just come.
Can you say who it is yet?
I can, but I won't.
Oh.
I gotta keep them coming, man.
It's Grant Cardone. Bam!
Oh yeah, we got President Trump coming.
Yeah. He's rolling up. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna 10x FenceTech.
I would like for all of you to vote for me again. Oh my gosh, this guy. All right, well, we got to go. All
right, guys.
It's raining out there.
Thanks a lot.
See ya. See you next week.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Protecting Your Radius podcast from the LuxCore Studios in Bixby, Oklahoma. Thanks for sticking around, and connect with us and all of our partners at www.protectingyourradius.com. We want to thank our premier partners, LuxCore, the newest line of premium quality composite infill to slide into your FenceTrack fence system. Frame your style today. Also, StainTrack, the world's first patented standalone stain machine. Utilizing flood coat technology, StainTrack covers boards, pickets, posts, and any type of dimensional wood you can think of. And what better way to use your StainTrack machine than to use the easy application Wood Defender family of stains. Wood Defender goes on easy and covers in one coat with no back brushing. And of course, the true power of our show is you, the listener. Please rate and review our show on whatever platform you consume this content. Your 5-star likes and reviews help other contractors get the message that we all want to be better and do better. And in the construction world, we can never forget that before you can be great, you've got to be good. Before you can be good, you've got to be bad. But before you can even be bad, you've got to try.